This is Doom. We're on Xbox Series X doing a Doom pack. We're starting with Classic Doom, then we're going to Classic Doom 2, and then we're doing Doom 3 BFG, and we're going to finish with Doom 64, getting a little bit of the Ultra Doom package going on because, I don't know why not, it kind of makes sense to put these all together. And yeah, so this is the original Doom. Not much to really say about this one when it comes to the visuals. It looks fantastic. It's that old school style blown up into the 4K, and I mean, it looks fantastic. It does have auto HDR, which I guess is kind of interesting and a nice little touch to have. But yeah, we're basically just going to be diving through each of the Dooms. This is some of the most classic FPS titles ever made. Really well-loved sort of horror-type franchise, I guess you could say. Maybe a little bit more towards the later ones. Maybe back in the day you could actually say that this was, like, sort of gaming in a horror perspective. But yeah, just really, really epic, old-school, first-person shooter. Really being sort of the start of the whole genre. Really kicking it into high gear and setting the standard for shooters and stuff to come. This one is quite classic. I mean, good selection of levels, extra additional content, everything that was added afterwards is thrown together here for one mighty awesome package. You just kind of move through it, collecting key cards, blasting enemies, taking on the various sprites. I mean, I still think visually it's a fairly impressive offering. It's definitely a classic sort of game. Getting different weapons, getting different tools, destroying creatures, different difficulty options. It's Doom. I mean, eventually it'll be on Xbox Game Pass because it's first party with Bethesda being under the Microsoft banner on Xbox. That's what I'm talking about. Yep, one of the most classic series of all time. Seriously, these games are just absolutely splendid. So you can kind of... What's neat is the sense of discovery. You know, you're just kind of thrown in here, you don't know what's going on, you're blasting things, you're trying to figure it out, and that's kind of fun because you can like speed run it, you can go really quick if you know what you're doing, or you could take your time, have fun. There's so many like secrets to discover, things to do, things to blast, stuff to find. It's just kind of fantastic. And again, like, different weapons. This is just like the most basic kinds of weapons that are present within the game. You need to find some other stuff, and you know, you could save and battle and find all this hidden things. I think there's something here or other. I might be totally mistaken. They're just kind of interesting, I don't know how you describe it, like cave type areas almost. You're like dungeon crawling basically, or dungeon blasting these like wild demons on a quest to blast people away. It's just kind of really fun and such a classic historical title. I mean, if there's one thing that definitely does need some preservation in long-term gaming, it's the Doom franchise. It definitely does deserve it. Just seeing, you know, the evolution of the series, especially with like the games we have today from Doom, it's kind of absolutely nuts that we are able to experience this. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited to be showcasing these old games because they're still so fun and so cool. Like, I think I was kind of around in this era, but you know what I mean? I wasn't like actively playing these back when I was younger, but you can come in nowadays and you can still appreciate the technology and the visual style and like how well it's held up over these years. It's kind of crazy blasting these guys away and having an excellent time while doing so. It's really just such a treat. It's so much fun working through like the campaigns and the stories and trying to, you know, understand what you're doing and working through it, because I mean, I've probably finished this like a few times at this point, like story-wise. It's just, I don't know, it's a really, really great game. It's kind of held, I think, the test of time, at least being the original entry in the series. It just really does still hold up. Oh geez, oh no, that's not good. I'm gonna go back up, and I think with that, we're gonna switch over to Doom 2 Classic because, you know, we want to show that one off a little bit too. We gotta have a little bit of time for every bit of Doom because, you know, the Doom comes for all. Are we gonna go down? Come on. I love how the shooting's handled too. I think that's kind of really cool. You go off into the path. Ah, I just want to keep blasting things, especially since we reach the end. But, oh wow. Yeah, let's switch over. Okay, this is Doom 2 Classic, jumping into that original follow-up that obviously came after the massive success of the original Doom entry in the series. Again, similar display at 4K. We're getting auto HDR again, which is fantastic. It feels very fluid, it looks really good, and it's a lot of fun with its sort of classic movement and style. So this one obviously took things up a notch. At least in my opinion, they definitely added some crazier new things that you could do and experience this one, and the scope of it's just kind of increased. The technology matured a bit, and we got some crazier levels, and again, you know, it's got all that extra content and stuff to it as well, just like the Doom 1 had. And it's just kind of a larger in scope sort of time, at least I think so. Wow, we're already through the first kind of level experience here. But yeah, it's all about, just like the first Doom, going around, picking things up, killing stuff, finding secrets, going for part-time if you care about that, and of course blasting demons and battling creatures and demons of this hellish landscape. It's kind of crazy and wild, and again, definitely a classic sort of game. I mean, at least I hope people think that it's still a classic sort of experience. And I don't know if it's quite as memorable to the degree that the first one is, but it's always well loved and always, you know, kind of placed right alongside the first Doom because it's a classic experience, right? Ooh, lots of different weapons, lots of different tools, and it just kind of gets even more into the action quicker, I guess you could say. Things get pretty frantic and intense. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, I remember it a lot for this one being like the scope change, the conflict, really up in the the battles and stuff like that, and the dynamics of the different rooms and the places you can go. It was kind of crazy in that regard. I mean, look at that area. That's kind of nuts, isn't it? It's just, it's also a really great game. Again, if you've never played the first one or the second one, these are just such must-try experiences. You know, I think they're such iconic entries and releases within the first-person shooter genre, and they're so still good-looking. Like, there's something about these classic games, like, you can really tell when a game is going to stand like the test of time and stuff, is when you go back years later and you're like, wow, this is still like a good-looking game. It really still does look pretty charming. I mean, obviously, in comparison to today's first-person shooters, they've advanced a lot, and the Doom series in particular has changed a ton. But you get what I mean when I talk about this experience. It's still, like, it holds up quite well. The animations and stuff are really cool. It's still a fun game. Oh, I got absolutely clobbered. Which is fine, just get back into it. I mean, I love how you shoot the guns, and the places you go, and the weapons. It's just, it's really, really great. I have such an enjoyable time working through these and playing them, and I don't know, hopefully we'll have another chance, I mean, way down the line to jump in again and show them off. I don't know what kind of excuse I would need at that point, maybe a new platform or something, but yeah, every once in a while we get ourselves another interesting, unique take and port on the Doom series. I think that's kind of cool that this has been available on so many platforms. Like, maybe not this one in particular, but like the first two classic games really have been available on a ton of different consoles and platforms over the years. It's kind of insanely impressive, at least I think so. Just like the ways you've been able to play these games over the years, it's really impressive. And it's just kind of nuts too. I mean, like, this is absolutely like a crazy evolution over the last one. It's kind of absolutely intense. I keep getting blasted away over there. It's driving me crazy. I'm just trying to get my Doom 2 on, and I keep getting battled and attacked. You know, it's a little disheartening that I go in here and I blast things and I keep having all this trouble. But there's not really much more to talk about. You know, you're collecting the key cards, you're doing the rooms, you're fighting through the areas, working through the campaign, dealing with the difficulties. That's really what the old school Dooms were about. And they really executed on that formula perfectly, you know? And that's why they're still so well loved all these years later. They still got that heart to them, that old school style, that old school spirit. And I think with that, we're gonna switch over to Doom 3 and show off what that has to offer, because that's gonna be a fun time. That's a lot of enemies. This is Doom 3 BFG. We're on, obviously, the Series X, like we've been showing off with the last few games. We showed off the classic Doom 1, Doom 2, and now we're on Doom 3, which actually is a little bit upgraded. So we get a native 4K resolution, 60 FPS, and we get HDR support, auto HDR, which is fantastic. And apparently I am getting blasted away. So this was a really big revamp for the series. You know, we went to the 3D realm, like true 3D realm, and it was kind of scary, it was kind of intense, it was intimidating, and it was definitely technically demanding, and it really did change and expand the scope of the series, I think, forever. And it's weird that it took so long to get follow-up after this. You know, there was supposed to be Doom 4 for a long time, and then eventually we ended up with the whole revamped series. But yeah, this is definitely one of those kinds of games that I think still is such an iconic experience that so many people like and enjoy all these years later. I know I have a friend that like constantly jumps back into this one to play it all the time, just because they thoroughly enjoy what it has to offer. And I mean, it is definitely a classic sort of game. I really wish I had the key code on my mind to do that. But you know, it's filled with secrets, it's filled with lore. If there's a particular semi-modern Doom that you want to try outside of the realms of, you know, say Eternal or the rebooted one, this is the one to try. I mean, it still holds up as being spooky, scary, and seriously messed up. It's quite unsettling, needless to say. Oh geez, what is going on here? What are we dealing with? This is still scary. Yep, big creatures, big monsters. It's horrifying times. It definitely did provide something that was, I think, unsettling for most players, and even today still kind of brings some chills. And oh wow, yeah, they definitely come out of everywhere. And I think visually it also holds up incredibly well. Like the style of gameplay and everything like that is kind of absolutely amazing that it still kind of has that style. Oh, this is scary. But yeah, you're still getting that classic edition where you're gathering armor, you're battling things, you're collecting the deep PDAs and stuff for the collectibles, and trying to figure out really what happened. Like, it's just a regular day, you've come to Mars, you know, you're enjoying the prospect of this work. This guy is really driving me crazy. And you're wanting to see, well, you know, how things are going, and obviously things don't necessarily go too well for you because the demons start pouring out, and death is definitely going to follow you if you're not careful and not being careful about things. Oof, somebody just got absolutely decimated by the lasering gun, and then you get thrown back to the save points because you gotta actually save and stuff like that, which is fine because it's cool to show off how slick everything is again. It really does look fantastic. I mean, I think a game of its like age, it's really holding up quite well, and it's still got a good amount of challenge to it, as you know, too, if you want that. Lots of different weapons you can unleash, and so many different weird moments, and you can just kind of like obliterate enemies too. You just kind of break them down. And these aren't even really the super hellish ones. Like, it gets, you know, it gets pretty intense as you go along with the different things you have to face off against. They're basically like zombie demon marine things. It's crazy, right? Like, it's absolutely crazy. Oh, what are we gonna deal with now? Oh, jeez, we just did this too. And it's unsettling. I also really like the physics in this one too. Oh, yeah, weird circles of death and demons. It's definitely not as upbeat and fast-paced and action-packed as, well, I mean, it's action-packed and upbeat, but it's not as like happy and frantic music as those other ones are. This is definitely playing more into the horror vibes and in so many unique ways. It's terrifying. Again, good character development, good sense of mystery, and a really good time. I mean, this is such a classic game of like kind of the modern era, I guess you could say. It's still pretty old at this point, but I think it still looks pretty good. And I think with that, we're going to switch over to our last Doom experience of, well, the video. It's time for Doom 64. Well, you know, we can't get enough of Doom, so here is Doom 64, which is kind of a beautiful bringing to life version of the Nintendo 64 version of the game on modern platforms. So yeah, we're actually getting a native 4K resolution with auto HDR support at 60 FPS. It's smooth, it's cool, and it's totally interesting and fascinating from many technical perspectives. So yeah, this one released alongside, I believe it was Internal, and I thought, hey, you know what, it'd be kind of cool to throw this in with the sort of classic Doom games. I thought that might be sort of fun and make sense for that type of package that showcases this version of the game. So yeah, you get like the full scope of the experience brought to life in so many interesting ways, and this feels like, I don't know if you can call it an upgrade, but it's definitely a very different take on Doom in general. I find it utterly fascinating. Like, it really is quite a, like, aesthetically, it's a very interesting showcase. And I think they did a really great job kind of bringing this to life. It's really quite cool. And again, kind of a lot of fun. It's very well done. Who else wants to die? But yeah, it's really, again, fast-paced. It's got a different presentation, and while it looks very similar to that classic Doom experience, it's definitely a whole different sort of machine. I mean, like, look at the creatures we're already getting thrown at us. And of course, in a very different sort of visual and sprite type of way. I mean, it's still got that original feeling, but it's certainly a whole other thing. Are they twitching on the ground still? That's unsettling. Okay, well, we're gonna kind of backtrack through this area. That's weird, right? Like, those things are just creepy looking. They did such a good job with, can you call them sprites, I guess you could say? I don't know. They're definitely, they feel like full 3D design models and stuff like that compared to the original type thing. Oh, wow, we're gonna have to go over to that skull thing. It's utterly fascinating to jump into this one, especially after just having played the other ones in such close proximity. It's really neat what they were doing in terms of lighting and conflict and battle. It's totally crazily different. And then the team that was tasked with bringing this to life, I think, did an excellent job of it. I'm kind of just absolutely floored by their presentation and their style of the game. I mean, it looks really cool, and I think it's kind of fascinating to a degree. I don't know if everyone would feel the same, but it's definitely a different sort of way to look at Doom. And I hope I'm describing it quite right, because it really does draw you right into the action like the original game does, but it really does some new things with it, you know what I mean? It really goes all out as being, okay, this is severely unsettling. Oh, wow, that is so damn cool. So cool. So interesting. But yeah, it's just got neat conflict. Oh, we got the chain gun. So yeah, definitely a different sort of Doom experience that you should check out if you're able to. And I hope throwing it in with the other Dooms was cool, because we're Doom all day, Doom all the time. Maybe I should have done like a mega Doom thing with like so much Doom that you would feel the dread of the Doom that was coming towards you. I don't know, I think we doomed enough in general with this collection of Doom games. But I hope you enjoyed this look at all these, oh yeah, I forgot I gotta get yellow key, these Doom games, and then seeing, you know, kind of how they're looking and they're running, and I hope this was a good showcase of it, because I'm very much looking forward to presenting, you know, we still gotta go through the modern Doom, which I think kind of deserves its own thing, and then there's also going to be We got Doom Eternal, right? When that one gets its optimization, there's just a lot of Doom to withhold. Light amplification goggles. Now I can really see things in a whole new way. What? It's completely changed my life. But no, seriously, like the things they did with this one. Oh, we need a red key too. Jeez, I am having key confusion time. They definitely did an interesting job with this one. Just like the way you move through the level and stuff like that, I find absolutely just fascinating and exciting and not confusing, but kind of challenged, you know, just in regards to the layout and the design of it. So interesting. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this look at Doom 64 and of course the other Dooms that I was kind of showcasing along the way. Awesome times and a great amount of fun too.